What's going on, everybody? Brett here. My YouTube channel is Goodtalk Gaming, and we are back today playing some more Total War Warhammer 2. The map is Warpstone Mine. I'll be playing as the Cult of Sotek, my ally, the Empire, and we are going to be up against the fearsome Kyle on the Tomb Kings and Triari on Skaven. My ally's name is a bit explicit. I think it's just like you, mother effer, something like that. But anyway, let's get into it. So there's some things to talk about in this game aside from just the actual gameplay. So my friend Triari and I, who I've featured plenty on this channel, let's go ahead and slow-mo this stuff and bring up a unit card as well. So we play a lot of games. We play a lot of 2v2s together. This time we happen to be on different sides of the battlefield. So it behooved us very early on to coordinate with our teammates. My teammate and I, we went ahead and we just, with the barest minimum of talking to each other in the chat, we kind of let each other know what our strats were. In this particular battle, which I believe was the second of the day, our strategy was to rush, right? He's got a front line of flagellants, he's got some crossbowmen, all fairly cheap stuff, and the idea is just to get in there as fast as possible, jam Volkmar the Grim on his pimp wagon right down the enemy's throat, and follow up with a little bit of ranged fire, perhaps some spells from the Grey Wizard. I see Pit of Shades there, which is excellent, by the way, in 2v2s, because you're always going to find that blob. And then my job was to do basically the same. I have some counter picks here in the form of the brand spanking new Salamander hunting packs with their flaming damage. I've got the Bastiladons with the solar engines with their magical flaming damage as well. Going to be excellent versus the Tomb Kings, but they're also not bad against the Skaven. They do cause fear, and the Bastiladons cause fear and terror. My front line is a mix of Saurus warriors with shields, as well as the red-crested skinks with their poison and their armor piercing. So the idea was if there was some sort of armored line, we would be fine in dealing with it. If we just had to smash rats, as we're going to right now, these Death Runners here from Triari are going to be moving up quickly to screen for all of this Gutter Runner fire, as well as these Gunner Runners with poison. Yeah, Slingers plus standard Gutter Runners. I think the difference is in the range. Yeah, 140 on those and 70 on these. And then his Lord is going to be Tretch Craventail. But the general idea of our builds was to rush, to find the first enemy we could and smash them, not sit back and let things like artillery, or on the other side of the battlefield, as we'll get to, they have bone giants, not let those things really destroy us. And a nice point-blank shot there from the Bastiladon. As we engage here in melee, and I start to line up different shots, we realized, and like I said, this was the second game, that unfortunately these two players, one of which being my friend, they were not playing together. Their strategies were not quite cohesive. This player here, Kyle, he did not move in, right? He sees his ally being engaged by the opponents. He sees his direct opponent, the Empire player, coming to assist me, and he doesn't shift accordingly. So this build here from Triari is very aggressive, right? It wants to get in and skirmish. It wants to kite. And he's going to be able to do a lot of damage, but without any of this backup here from the slow-moving Tomb King's army, he's going to have trouble. And a lot of that really started with their deployment. My ally and I deployed next to each other. 2v2s, sometimes they go one of two ways, I would say. You have one side of the battlefield that can play like one giant army. They deploy perfectly together. They set their formations together, protect each other in that way. And then when the time comes to move out, they move out together as one army. And then you have the times where you have two players each playing as if they are in a one-player game. And sadly, I think Triari was trying to play as if he was in a two-player game. And the other player had a really solid single-person army with a lot of range components. But he wasn't taking advantage of Triari's build to the fullest. And because of the slow-moving nature of the Tomb Kings, he's going to have difficulty getting in here before we're able to crush a lot of what Triari's build is, a lot of what this Skaven army wants to do. And I'm using my very large boy, Tehenhauin, on this Stegodon here to soak up a lot of damage. I'm giving him the Shield of Chakra for 44% missile resistance. I gave him the Revivification Crystal to try and top off his healing, so that whatever damage he took, he could potentially recover from. But these Warp Lightning Cannons are not just any Warp Lightning Cannons. These are the Regiment of Renown Ikit Zap Zap, and they are resetting my cooldowns on Tehenhauin. So I came in with the intention of casting a lot of stuff, and then all of my cooldowns started to get reset. All I really have on him is the Flock of Doom, which every time I cast, I get a ward save. So I just want to be spamming that out as much as possible to give myself the defensive buffs. And then he also had Natty Bubo's sharpshooters on this hill. Great position, 300 range, armor sundering. They're a brutal unit to fight against. And then this Warlock Engineer with some Lore of Ruin spells. So we're finally in position to do some damage. Knights of the Blazing Sun, very thematic. If you've never seen these guys, take a look at them. Awesome gold and black color scheme. Flaming lances. They do fire damage. Once again, very good against Tomb Kings. We counterpick them pretty hard. About as hard as you can, honestly. Flagellants as well will stand and fight against their skeletons all day long. And my front line is going to be winning pretty handily against the Skaven front line. And Tretch there pops Verminous Valor and explodes all of my red-crested skinks. But we're still going to be able to surround him. I'm using the... What are these? How are these guys referred to? The Legion of Chakwa. And they are going to try and surround Tretch, and they can beat him down pretty effectively, even though Tretch's defensive stats are pretty much off the charts for an infantry unit. So, the battle is joined. The Knights of the Blazing Sun have come with their speed and mobility to aid me in this fight. We're going to be pushing forward despite all of the skirmisher fire we're taking, trying to take that fire so that when the Knights of the Blazing Sun get in here, they can run over all of these Skaven. We can go ahead and standard speed it for a second. Crossbowmen have begun firing as well, helping me out with these gutter runners. And yeah, nice cast from the Grey Wizard. Triori is trying to micro so hard, but there's so much going on. He's essentially fighting two armies at once. Tretch gets caught out. There we go. All that firepower is now being focused on Tehenhauin, and I'm being forced to retreat him. I've got my finger on the button for the Bastillodon with the Revivification Crystal, and as soon as it's off cooldown for the entire game, I'm going to be trying to heal Tehenhauin, but I've got to get him out of here as fast as possible. So the Empire player, sensing that the Tomb King player is moving into position, he's going to start changing the location of all of his flagellants, making a front line to deny him that flank. And I'm going to be left mostly on my own with the help of the Knights of the Blazing Sun to ride down and shut down what's left of the Skaven. So Saurus Warriors with shields, more than a match for these gutter runners, but they could honestly kite us into oblivion if they were able to. Volkmar here, charging into the fray. You can watch him for a second. Man, he also does flaming damage. He really did counterpick them very hard. Casket of Souls is going to land a beautiful shot on those crossbowmen. But there's a lot of deadly range things on this side of the battlefield, and we should definitely go over it as my Bastillodons fire into Natty Bubos. Double Bone Giant on the hill. And they're currently shooting into the crossbowmen. They'll probably be switched, have their targets switched in just a second. Warp Lightning raining from the sky. He's got a pretty decent front line. Nekar Warriors are kind of mid-tier units for the Tomb Kings. Direct hits, it looks like, on the Flagellants, but they're not going to break. I mean, you can shoot at them all day long. Some Skeletal Horsemen to protect his flanks and his rear. He's got two standard Ushapti. If you've never seen those before, let's take a look. Pretty awesome unit. Armor piercing, heavy hitting, monstrous infantry. And then we also have the Chosen of the Gods. Something that I'm going to be looking to shut down as soon as possible. And I think I'm moving into position to try and do that. He's going to be lining up his Nekar Warriors. And I'm going to be trying to see if I can't land something from that Engine of the Gods. And this here was a bit of a misclick. Towards the end of this, I did have kind of a family thing come up. Not really worth explaining. Basically, a neighbor came to the door. And so I had to micro as well as I could. And I was trying to get some stuff done. But here we go. Check this out. Good play here from Kyle. In a moment here, he gets off that pendulum from the Grey Wizard, my teammate does, and then I'm going to be looking to do basically the same thing and just absolutely melt and finish off this group here. And I think I also get a Flock of Doom in just a second. Yeah, so I'm getting that ward save, and here comes the effect from the Engine of the Gods. It's so dang slow, though. If you're paying attention at all, it's very easy to dodge, and yeah, he's going to dodge it. No damage taken whatsoever, and I'm going to have to move back lest I be focused down by these bone giants now. So anyway, guys, the Casket of Souls is firing. The Tomb King, standard Tomb King, completely stripped down on top of a Khmerian War Sphinx, is looking to get into the mix. They're being extremely conservative right now. I've sent in these red-crested skinks just to try and shut down the range fire from the Chosen while I skirmish them with my Bastillodon with solar engines. And every time I land a hit, there's a chance I can kill a model. Yeah, there we go. We killed a model. I think that's the standard Ushapti, though. So he took a hit for the Chosen. My Legion of Chakwa just ran Tretch off the battlefield. My Bastiladon with the Revivification Crystal, what a word, is healing up Tehenhauin. We're going to try and get him back up to some decent HP. It was at this point I was really wishing that the Empire player had taken some sort of Lore of Life, perhaps. It can be very powerful when it's used on other factions that don't have access to that kind of direct healing. And, yeah, shot after shot. We're skirmishing each other, but at the end of the day, we just have an overwhelming amount of infantry, thanks to all of these flagellants, and I think we'll be able to beat them in a one-on-one. And then we also have all of these monstrous units that they're going to have to deal with at some point. And because we've managed to isolate the Skaven players so thoroughly, I'm using what's left of my rallying infantry to try and chase down different elements. The Knights of the Blazing Sun up to 160 kills, charging down all of those guys. Volkmar is coming to the back to shut down the Iked Zap Zap, which still had quite a bit of ammo. Could have done a lot of damage. And that looks like a banishment. Yeah, it's going to whiff just a bit, but it might clip these other gunner runners. Not quite. But Flagellants fighting skeletons, that's a pretty cool battle. These shirtless bros. And I think these are King Nikesh's Scorpion Legion. They have poison. They have great defensive stats, 41 melee defense. They hold all day long. And with the help of Karin warriors, see here with their dual blades, they're more than a match for the Flagellants. But at this point, sensing the blob here, I've moved up all of my fire lizards, my salamander hunting packs, and I'm going to be shooting into whatever appropriate targets I can and trying to add that flaming damage, that splash damage to the attacks. The bone giants are nearly out of ammo, the chosen of the gods are nearly out of ammo, and I just feel like there's not enough left on the battlefield. The crossbowmen have taken up position, they're shooting into the Ushapti, probably killing more flagellants than anything. I've managed to get my red-crested skinks onto this Tomb King. They do poison it, and they do armor-piercing damage, but they're not the best for it. With Bastiladon, I can just charge that into the Tomb King. So the Khmrian War Sphinx is really great at dealing with loads and loads of infantry, but what it's not good at dealing with is just a single super tanky monster like the Bastiladon. 140 armor on that. Not going to have a great time getting through it. See here, it has anti-infantry in the tooltip. Bastiladon still shooting in, and at this point I think I'm switching over to the Bone Giants, and I'm just slowly creeping forward. As I charged in to fight the Tomb King, I used a Flock of Doom on this little pocket here to try and get that bonus to my ward save, so that I probably wouldn't take as much damage from the Tomb King. And now that he's being focused, especially by the silver bullets, they have stalk, they have super armor piercing as well as magic damage. Tomb King doesn't have any physical resistance, so that's not going to quite be an issue. But a lot of the infantry for the Tomb Kings is crumbling. The Flagellants are winning the day here. Pretty cool shot there. Knights of the Blazing Sun with huge kills. Volkmar's coming back after chasing. I've got some units that managed to chase other units all the way off the battlefield. They're going to be rallying. I've got the Legion of Chakwa coming back from chasing off Tretch. And we're going to be trying to get them onto the Tomb King without a doubt. They are anti-large and pretty heavily armored for Saurus, 75 armor. They're pretty much the perfect thing that we have on the battlefield to fight a Tomb King. And the Tomb King is going to be getting in and amongst our crossbowmen. The Salamander Hunting Pack, 90 armor. It's actually more than I thought. Yeah, they're not going to do great, but they're not going to do poorly either. They do have flaming damage. Yeah, they're just getting wrecked. They were already a bit injured. So every time the Tomb King swings the paws, see if something dies. Almost. No, he killed him. Straight up killed him. The poison from Tehenhauin's little skink attendants, you can kind of watch them throw their little spears, is actually hitting him and poisoning him. You can see at the bottom on his tooltip, he is poisoned. And the Ushapti summon coming in from the Tomb King player lost a lot of units to get that to happen, and those are going to absolutely tear up the crossbowmen, but it's a little too little and a little too late. And that's going to spell doom as we manage to make it into battle with some of our rallying units and our returning units. Everything just about crumbles. Knights of the Blazing Sun get onto the Bone Giants, and without ammunition, the balance bar tips pretty heavily in our favor. And yeah, it was a fun game. Let's go ahead and check out the unit breakdown, see what got what kills. So the Red Crested Skinks, I always find perform quite well for me. Tehenhauin, this game acted almost as just a giant bullet sponge. I figured there would be lots of ranged components on the other side of the battlefield. I wanted that 22% ward save. I wanted the Legion of Chakwa's 44% missile resistance. And I wanted to heal with a Bastiladon with the Revivification Crystal. So those three things together made me extremely tanky and allowed me to sustain in that battle, plus knowing when to retreat. Other than that, just standard good kills all the way around. My ally here, big numbers. Big numbers on this Knights of the Blazing Sun. The other one got wrecked a little bit, but I think at the end of the day was fighting targets that really just weren't suitable for getting tons and tons of kills. The crossbowman, slightly ineffective. I mean, if he was going toe-to-toe with just a Skaven player, I like crossbowmen then, because Skaven range tools have shorter range, and they also, for the most part, and they also have generally low armor when you're talking about gutter runners and things like that. So crossbowmen can be quite effective against them. They can also be pretty effective against Tomb King archers, but a lot of the Tomb King front lines, a lot of their units are shielded, and I just generally, to deal with constructs, I would prefer to have more silver bullet handgunners, more handgunners generally. Otherwise, great army. I love the pick of Volkmar the Grim. We were just trying to have fun. Pretty decent numbers here from the Tomb King players, but he also had the benefit of coming in late to the battle. Had he showed up, 2 minutes earlier, instead of trying to take that same side of the battlefield position against us, he would have been able probably to save Ikit Zap Zap, probably could have saved Natty Bubo Sharpshooters, and just several of these other units that we were just able to chase off the battlefield. The Warlock Engineer was gone with almost no spells cast, and it wasn't really Triari's fault. He got isolated pretty heavily, and it was, at the end of the day, it was just a matter of a failure of communication. You want to talk to your ally just a little bit before you get into the battlefield to make sure you're on the same page. When you deploy, you can always use, the arrows and things that you can draw on the map to show what you'd like to do, and you can just say, hey man, deploy with me. And at that point, if the other person is being a jerk and doesn't want to cooperate, or if you're not willing yourself to be flexible and to deploy with your ally, which I do often. Sometimes I'll get into a 2v2. I'll say I have this great strategy, or strategy that I think is great. My ally won't go with it. I say, okay, well, let me build around their strategy. So, I'm not doing exactly what I want to do, but I think it makes for a better team. And then we get into the battlefield, and then once again, I'm like, hey man, let's deploy over here. They say, no, I'm going to do my own thing. And I say, okay, and I just deploy in a way that helps them to have the best battle that they can, because ultimately that helps me too. So hopefully this was kind of a good look at that. I don't know, this was a fun battle to play. I don't know exactly how strategically amazing this battle was, but it was fun to play. Hopefully it was fun to watch. And mostly I just wanted to talk a bit about team dynamics and sometimes how you have to give a lot in Total War Warhammer 2, just because, unless you're on Discord with someone and you're like great friends with them, you have to anticipate that your allies are going to sometimes fight you as hard as your enemies, and you have to play to that. So 2v2s is not a competitive format. It's all about fun. Our armies obviously were about fun. You don't bring an all flagellant army if you're trying to win. And this is not the most competitive build I could have thought up. But it was fun. So guys, once again, my name is Brett. My channel is Goodtalk Gaming. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you stick around and watch some more. Hopefully I can get some Three Kingdoms content up and running for y'all. The game was running really poorly for me on launch, and I put it down for a while I went on vacation. And I've gotten back and I'm trying to mess with it to get it to run smoother. They're mentioning that they're doing all of these hot fixes and patches and stuff to try and get it to work better. But whether or not that works for me remains to be seen. But look out for that in the future. At the very least, I'll probably end up streaming some Three Kingdoms in a few weeks. I do a co-op campaign with Triari. And yeah, if you're interested in that, stick around. But anyway, guys, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Take care.